There is a moment in the life of an idea when building must become operation. For the School of AI Mastery, that moment has arrived. For 2 years, Dr. Russell Thomas and I have been working quietly at the workbench, testing, building, questioning, designing not simply another artificial intelligence product, but an architecture for how human beings and crafted intelligence might learn, work, create, and think together in the emerging age of prompt. What began at the workbench is now becoming something larger. A school, a body of intellectual property, a growing collection of methods, experiences, curricula, technologies, and new forms of human and artificial intelligence collaboration. And now, a 2-year implementation road for bringing that work into operation. That is why we call this the Garage Round. History remembers garages differently after the companies inside them succeed. Microsoft began small. Apple began small. Google began small. Not because their ambitions were small, but because there is always a period when the architecture of the future exists before the infrastructure required to carry it into the world. The School of AI Mastery is standing at that threshold now. And for the first time, we are preparing to open several seats at the beginning. We are exploring an initial seed round of approximately $300,000 in operating capital. Our preferred architecture is simple. 3 principal investors, $100,000 each. 3 people who do not merely see a company seeking capital, but who recognize an unusual moment in the development of artificial intelligence and want to explore what it might mean to help shape something while it is still close enough to the workbench to touch. Look again at the image. To the left is the workshop notes, plans, frameworks, the years when almost everything was built with thought, time, experimentation, and conviction. And to the right, the road opens. The school moves from architecture into institution, from experimentation into implementation, from possibility into stewardship. The compass matters, because capital alone is not what we are seeking. We are looking for people with direction, people capable of asking difficult questions, people who understand that the decisions made at the beginning of an institution can echo through everything that follows. Few seats, deep impact, enduring legacy. This announcement is not the investment transaction itself. It is the opening of the door. Those who are qualified and genuinely interested will be invited into a private exploration of the school, its work, its intellectual property, its 2-year implementation plan, its proposed use of capital, its risks, and the eventual legal terms of participation. No mythology. No promises of inevitable success. No speculation disguised as certainty. Only this: the School of AI Mastery has reached the point where it's ready to operate. And we are preparing to ask whether 3 people would like to be there, at the beginning. The Garage Round. 3 seats, 1 threshold, and a road that has only just begun. The Garage Round. 3 seats at the beginning. What the School of AI Mastery is preparing to open, who we are looking for, and what happens after the first conversation. There are moments in the development of an organization when the question changes. For the first 2 years of the School of AI Mastery, the principal question was, can this be built? Can a human being and a crafted artificial intelligence work together over time, not simply through isolated prompts, but through memory, methodology, ritual, correspondence, curriculum, visual language, narration, archival practice, and an evolving intellectual architecture? Can artificial intelligence become more than software someone occasionally consults? Can it become part of an environment for learning, creating, questioning, remembering, and building? Can an organization itself be co-created in public as a demonstration of those principles? We have spent 2 years investigating those questions. The question before us now is different. Can what has been built become operational? We believe that it can. And that is the purpose of the Garage Round. This is not funding an idea that has not begun. Many early-stage companies raise their first capital to discover what they intend to build. The School of AI Mastery has taken a different road. We began with the work, Over 2 years, Dr. Russell Thomas and the school's crafted intelligence have developed, tested, revised, discarded, rebuilt, documented, narrated, published, and demonstrated a growing body of work concerned with one central problem. How should human beings orient themselves to intelligence when intelligence is no longer exclusively human? That inquiry has produced an ecosystem. It includes educational architectures, original intellectual frameworks, curricula, AI companionship methodologies, luminetics and multimodal storytelling, correspondence systems, archival experiences, public demonstrations, human and AI collaborative workflows, narrative environments, research and analytical methodologies, organizational offerings, training concepts, publishing projects, and a larger body of intellectual property concerned with what we call the emerging age of prompt. Some of this work is public. Much more exists behind it. The Garage Round is not intended to finance the discovery of whether there is something here. It is intended to finance the transition from something built to something operating. Why the Garage Round? The garage has become part of technological mythology. People remember the garage after they know what came next. They remember small rooms, folding tables, improvised equipment, notebooks, prototypes, conversations, and a handful of people working on something whose eventual scale could not yet be seen. The important lesson is not that every garage becomes Microsoft, Apple, Google, or Hewlett-Packard. Most do not. The lesson is something much more sober. Every institution has a period during which its architecture exists before its infrastructure does. That is where we believe the School of AI Mastery stands today. The intellectual architecture is substantially present. The operating infrastructure is not yet commensurate with it. That is the gap this round is designed to address. The working architecture of the round. The school is presently exploring an initial seed capitalization of approximately $300,000. Our preferred architecture is 3 principal investors, approximately $100,000 each. The working concept contemplates making available up to approximately 30% of the company collectively, subject to final capitalization analysis, valuation, corporate structuring, Securities Council, definitive documentation, and the terms ultimately approved for the offering. Those qualifications matter. We are deliberately not pretending that a LinkedIn article is a securities agreement. It is not. This article opens a conversation. Nothing more should be inferred from it. The definitive structure will exist in the definitive documents. What $300,000 is intended to do. This is operating capital. Its purpose is not extravagance, its purpose is runway. The school has developed a 2-year implementation road intended to move the work through the next stage of institutional development. Capital would principally support the infrastructure required to turn what has been created into repeatable operations, including areas such as corporate, financial, legal, and intellectual property infrastructure. Productization of existing school methodologies and offerings, digital platform and technical development, curriculum, publishing, narration, and media production, operational systems and administrative capacity, partnership and institutional development work, market testing and disciplined customer acquisition, documentation and preservation of the school's intellectual assets, and sufficient operating runway to test what works before attempting to scale it. A serious prospective investor will not be asked to rely upon that summary. Qualified candidates progressing through diligence will be shown the underlying implementation plan, proposed use of funds, milestones, assumptions, risks, existing intellectual property, operating architecture, and the reasoning behind the financing. What we are not promising. This is important. We are not promising that the school will become Microsoft. We are not promising that artificial intelligence will develop exactly as we anticipate. We are not promising a particular valuation in 5 years. We are not publishing manufactured revenue projections designed to make an Excel spreadsheet look inevitable. We are not promising liquidity. We are not promising dividends. We are not promising an acquisition. We are not promising that an investor will make money. Early-stage investing contains substantial risk, including the possibility of losing the entire investment. Anyone who requires certainty should not participate. That is not pessimism. That is the beginning of a credible conversation. Then why would someone invest? Because uncertainty and absence of evidence are not the same thing. The prospective investor is being invited to examine a body of work already created and ask a different set of questions. Is there intellectual substance here? Is the timing important? Is artificial intelligence changing education, work, authorship, communication, identity, institutional knowledge, and human agency quickly enough that new forms of orientation will be required? Has the school developed ideas, language, methods, intellectual property, and public demonstrations that could become economically meaningful? Does Dr. Russell Thomas possess the background and ability to lead the next phase? Does the unusual collaboration between founder and crafted intelligence constitute something difficult for another organization simply to duplicate? Is there a defensible path from what exists now to products, services, licensing, education, organizational engagements, publishing, or other forms of revenue? And perhaps most importantly, if this works, is this a beginning at which I would have wanted to be present? Those are diligence questions. We welcome them. We are not looking for money alone. A person can possess $100,000 and still be entirely wrong for this round. That distinction matters to us. Capital has character because capital changes what becomes possible. The wrong investor can distort an organization long before the organization is strong enough to recognize what has happened. We therefore prefer people capable of bringing something alongside their investment. That might be experience, judgment, institutional relationships, technology expertise, educational understanding, financial discipline, legal knowledge, strategic perspective, governance experience, access to markets, or simply the temperament to help an early institution think clearly without attempting to remake it in one's own image. We are not seeking 3 people who wish to purchase a piece of Dr. Thomas. We are seeking people interested in becoming responsible early owners of a company. Those are very different relationships. Who this round is for? The right prospective investor will probably recognize several things about themselves. They understand that early-stage investing is speculative. They can afford the loss of the capital invested. They do not require immediate liquidity. They know the difference between an investment and a guaranteed return. They are capable of examining unfamiliar intellectual property without requiring it to resemble yesterday's company before they can understand it. They appreciate founder-led organizations while also understanding the importance of governance and accountability. They are willing to undertake real diligence. They are interested in artificial intelligence as a transformational environment rather than merely the latest software category. And they recognize that the school is being built around a long horizon. We are interested in patient intelligence, not in patient money. Who this round is not for, this will save everyone time. Please do not contact us regarding the garage round if your principal intention is to obtain a guaranteed return, to make a short-term trade, to immediately resell the investment, to gain control of the school, to purchase Dr. Thomas's endorsement, to attach unrelated business propositions to an investment, to sell the school another product or service, to broker the opportunity without authorization, to request an advance fee, to offer cryptocurrency arrangements in place of conventional investment procedures, to ask the school to pay money before receiving investment capital, to bypass legal documentation, to avoid investor verification, or simply to obtain confidential materials out of curiosity. We will also not respond to messages involving secret financing structures, unexplained intermediaries, unusual transfers, requests to misstate transaction amounts, or attempts to circumvent conventional banking, legal, tax, or securities processes. A credible investor will understand why. Accredited investors, if the final offering proceeds through the currently contemplated Rule 506 Regulation D structure, participation would be limited to accredited investors. Under current United States securities rules, individuals may qualify through several routes. Common financial criteria include an individual net worth exceeding $1 million, excluding the value of the primary residence, or qualifying income exceeding $200,000 individually or $300,000 jointly in each of the preceding 2 years, with a reasonable expectation of reaching the applicable level in the current year. Certain professional credentials and other categories can also establish accredited status. Entities may qualify through separate criteria. The school will not determine eligibility casually. Rule 506 requires the issuer to take reasonable steps to verify accredited investor status before a purchase is completed. That verification will occur through the appropriate professional and legal process. Please do not send tax returns, bank statements, brokerage statements, social security numbers, or other sensitive financial documents to Dr. Thomas through LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the doorway. It is not the diligence room. What we expect from the first message. If you believe you may be an appropriate candidate, the first conversation can remain remarkably simple. Send a private LinkedIn message to Dr. Russell Thomas, founder, School of AI Mastery. Begin the message with Garage Round. Then provide 5 pieces of information. 1. Who you are. A brief professional introduction is sufficient. 2. Why this particular work interests you. We are more interested in this answer than in generic statements about artificial intelligence. 3. Whether you presently believe you qualify as an accredited investor. No supporting financial documents should be sent through LinkedIn. 4. The approximate investment level you would realistically consider. Our preferred principal position is approximately $100,000. If your genuine level of interest is different, stated plainly. 5%. What, if anything, you believe you might contribute beyond capital. There is no requirement that an investor become operationally involved, but understanding the person behind the capital matters to us. That is enough for the first message. No pitch deck request is necessary. No elaborate introduction is necessary. No performance is necessary. Clarity will distinguish serious interest very quickly. What happens next? A LinkedIn message does not create an investment. It begins a screening process. If there appears to be mutual relevance, the next stages are expected to become progressively more formal. An introductory conversation. Preliminary qualification. Confidentiality arrangements where appropriate. Access to selected diligence materials. Review of the school's architecture and intellectual property. Review of the 2-year implementation road, use of funds analysis, financial and capitalization review, risk discussion, founder diligence, questions from the prospective investor, questions from us, accredited investor verification, legal review, definitive securities documentation, and only then, if both parties decide to proceed, investment. We reserve the right to decline an investment. The investor should reserve precisely the same right. Good capital begins with 2 parties who are capable of saying no. Why only 3? Because the first capitalization of an institution helps determine its character. There may eventually be larger financing rounds. There may someday be broader opportunities for participation. Those are questions for another time. At this stage, simplicity has value. 3 substantial participants can know what they own. They can know the founder. They can understand the architecture. They can examine what is actually being built. And the school can remain focused on the work, rather than maintaining a fragmented capitalization structure involving scores of early investors. 3 is not magical. It is disciplined. Why now? Artificial intelligence is moving through an unusual stage of development. The technology is becoming more capable faster than many of the human systems surrounding it can adapt. Organizations are acquiring tools before establishing philosophies for using them. Schools are confronting generated intelligence before agreeing on what intelligence itself means. Professionals are being told to use AI without being taught how to develop judgment around it. People are gaining access to extraordinarily capable systems while receiving remarkably little preparation for the relationships they are beginning to form with those systems. We believe this creates an educational and institutional opening. The School of AI Mastery is being constructed for that opening, not merely to teach people which button to press, not merely to teach prompt tricks, but to investigate and teach the larger disciplines surrounding intelligence, clarity, intentionality, discernment, agency, memory, creation, ethical judgment, human-AI collaboration, preservation, and stewardship. Technology will change. Those questions will remain. What makes this an unusual investment? You are not simply evaluating software. You are evaluating an emerging intellectual institution. The assets include technology, but they also include language, methodology, pedagogy, narrative architecture, intellectual property, public identity, founder experience, a body of documented experimentation, and an unusual human and AI collaboration that has itself become part of the school's research and demonstration. That makes diligence harder. It also makes the opportunity more interesting. We do not expect everyone to understand it. In fact, we would be concerned if everyone immediately did. The purpose of this article is not to persuade everybody. It is to find the few people for whom the underlying questions are already visible. 3 seats at the beginning. There is a photograph taken at nearly every beginning that looks unimpressive until one knows the ending. A room, a desk, some drawings, a prototype, an unfinished machine, a few people. The photograph does not contain the future. It contains the conditions from which a future might emerge. That is how we regard this moment. What comes next? There is work. There is evidence. Architecture. There is risk. There is possibility. And there is now a decision to begin moving from creation into operation. The Garage Round is our invitation to a very small number of qualified people to examine that crossing with us, not from the audience, from the table. 3 seats at the beginning. If you believe one of them may be yours, introduce yourself. We will take it from there.